And some news just coming in. Afghan Talibani MOD has issued a statement. Ministry of National Defence's Air Force today around 11 o'clock at noon carried out airstrikes in Pakistan. Remember this in the context of growing tensions between both the countries. Now the MOD there informing that near the military camp close to Faizabad in Islamabad, on the army cantonment in Naushera, on the military colony in Jamrud and in Abbottabad. Security forces have told Tolo News that the country's defense forces targeted key centers of the Pakistani military regime last night using unmanned aerial vehicles. Also adding, following these attacks, the centers of the Pakistani military regime were set ablaze.
क्या चल रहा है अफगानिस्तान में, क्या हालात है?
रमजान पर हमारे फोर्सेस ने इंतकामी हमला पाकिस्तान मलेशिया पर किया है कि अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह हमारे फोर्सेस बड़े मोराल में है और अब तक 53 पाकिस्तानी फोर्सेस हलाक हुई है कुनल और नंगरहार में। हमारे फोर्सेस बड़े मोराल में है अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह। इंशाल्लाह उन मजलूमों का इंतकाम लिया जाएगा।
अच्छा, कितने पाकिस्तानी जो सैनिक हैं उनको आपने कैद किया है इसमें, और कहाँ किस किस बॉर्डर पे भी?
हमने कुनल, नूरिस्तान और नंगरहार में सिर्फ और सिर्फ 2 घंटे में 53 पाकिस्तानी अहलकार को हलाक किया है और अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह हमारा इंतकाम जारी है और हमारे फोर्सेस बड़े मोराल में है।
अच्छा, और पाकिस्तान की तरफ से भी अटैक हो रहा है? किस तरह का अटैक है पाकिस्तान की तरफ से?
पाकिस्तान हर बार दहशतगर्द के नाम पे छूट और मजलूम अफगानों की हमला हर वक्त दुई सदा कोशिश करे था।
Pakistan's defense minister has also said it's open war between Pakistan and Afghanistan at this point in time. Details that are being shared right now at this point in time has got to do with the fact that an announcement of sorts has been made by the Afghan Talibani Ministry of National Defence's Air Force that crucial military bases have been attacked. I'm going to get in more from Gaurav Sawant on that big story at this point in time. This announcement comes the country's defense forces have targeted key centers of the Pakistani military regime, Gaurav.
This is a very big claim, though we're still waiting for independent verification. The Defense Ministry in Afghanistan has claimed that they've targeted an area in Islamabad barely 5 kilometers away from the office of Pakistan's Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif.
Yes.
They also claim that they've targeted crucial military installations of the Pakistani security forces in an airstrike, in the retaliatory airstrikes. So, there are multiple claims and counterclaims that are being made. For example, Pakistan has claimed that they've struck Afghanistan's 1 Corps headquarters, 2 of their brigade headquarters, and a couple of their battalion headquarters close to the Durand line and also in the interiors. The claim is whether it's Kabul or Kandahar where they've targeted the top leadership or locations of top leadership of the Taliban, or in Paktia and Nangarhar where they've targeted cadre, military installation, ammunition dumps and vehicle convoys that were headed towards the border. So both Pakistan and Afghanistan are making very tall claims. As of now, independent verification is extremely difficult, Sneha.
Closely, China has responded asking for peace, and so has Russia, Gaurav.
So multiple countries have now stepped in because one, there was a very sharp escalation. Two, Pakistan also reached out to Saudi Arabia. There are reports that Pakistan is also leaning on Qatar, requesting Qatar to intervene behind the scenes and get Taliban to back off. But from all accounts that we've been able to gather, Taliban does not intend, while they've said they will not escalate, at the same time they will not take Pakistan's airstrikes or the targeting of their personnel or civilians. They claim in Pakistani airstrikes, 22 people were targeted, 18 of one particular family were killed. So there will be a response. And in the retaliatory strikes, they've claimed more than 60 Pakistan Army personnel have either been killed or captured. 15 of Pakistan Army posts have been taken over. And when you look at this terrain, while the Durand line is about 2,600 kilometers long, the area that is being spoken of is a very difficult mountainous terrain, comes down from Chitral down towards, when you come down on this Durand line, it carries these attacks are taking place at multiple locations. Paktia, in Nangarhar, it just goes on to indicate right now they may be limited to some border pockets. The apprehension is it could escalate and go far deeper.
You know, this Pakistan facing blowback really from its past Afghan policies, Gaurav. What's your view?
So I want to take your mind back to 2021 when then DG ISI landed in Kabul Serena Hotel and celebrated the moment Taliban took over Afghanistan in 2021 and with a cup of tea or coffee in his hand said all will be well. And Pakistan's then Prime Minister Imran Khan had claimed that shackles of slavery had been overthrown and after 20 years of foreign regime, Afghanistan was free. But when you look at statistics from that point on, when about 3,500 fighters of Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan were released and repatriated and rehabilitated in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, Pakistan Army casualties, security forces casualties, they've constantly increased. Whether it was in 2021, just between August and December, they had about 400-500 casualties, to 2022, where the number shot up to about 600 plus, to 2023, when it came to about 800 plus, 2024, it kept rising, and last year, 2025, was the worst year in Pakistan's history of bloodshed on the AFPAC border in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa of Pakistani security forces and civilians, where casualties were more than 1,000, and this is just restricted to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. If you come down to Baluchistan, where Baluch Liberation Army and other fighters, they virtually took control of 12 districts, starting from Quetta in the on top, going down to Gwadar and Pasni in the Arabian Sea coast, and 12 districts where Nushki was held for over a week by the Baluch fighters before they melted into the mountains once again. And between this Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Baluchistan, there is this belt where the Pashtuns and the Baluchis are operating together. So this actually is Pakistan Army's worst nightmare coming true along the Durand line and along their northwest frontier and in Baluchistan.
Gaurav, be with us. I'm just going to come back to you in a moment from now. We also have a reaction.
हमने 1 घंटा पहले इस्लामाबाद को यह स्ट्राइक किया है और इस्लामाबाद, नौशेर, एबटाबाद और इस्लामाबाद की पीएम हाउस के 5 किलोमीटर साहों में उनके जो आर्मी तासीसात है और जो आर्मी का फोर्सेस का मराकज़ है, हमने निशाना उधर लगाया है.
It's a big story we're keeping a very close eye on at this point in time. Tensions escalate and how, like Gaurav was pointing out, as far as Afghanistan and Pakistan here is concerned. With that, I'm now going to hand it over to my colleague Abha of Business Today Television, who joins us with the very latest as far as the markets are concerned. Over to you, Abha.
Look, this investment Guru's tips will double your money. Just claim the offer.
Double your money from any random group. Pay attention. Promising double returns, they'll lure you in tight. Unverified groups will send fake tips overnight, emptying your pockets before you can fight. SEBI and NSE advise, consult only SEBI registered advisors and make payments only to verified accounts or UPI IDs. An investor awareness initiative by SEBI and NSE.
Presented by National Stock Exchange.
Good afternoon. You're with us here on Business Today. We're tracking market closing for you, and markets are seeing sharp selling in closing trade. We'll get to that in just a moment. Let's take you through the headlines. Markets remain under pressure amid global jitters. The Sensex tumbles over 600 points around the 81,000 mark, while the Nifty slips nearly 200 points to 25,300. FMCG, banking, auto and realty stocks lead the broad sell-off, while IT stocks buck the trend with selective buying. Prime Minister Narendra Modi pitches a bold reform push at the post-budget webinar, stressing India's economic resilience and calling for a stronger bond market. He urges deeper liquidity, new instruments, and wider use of AI, blockchain, and data analytics to power growth. The Prime Minister will inaugurate Micron's 22,516 crore semiconductor plant in Sanand tomorrow. The facility will produce advanced memory products crucial for AI, positioning India deeper into the global semiconductor supply chain. Mercedes-Benz India hints a possible rise in vehicle prices as tighter CAFE 3 fuel efficiency norms come into focus. The company says it backs stricter standards and remains aligned with SIAM, adding that public health must take priority despite higher compliance costs. India's first GDP data under the new series will be released at 4 p.m. today. SBI pegs Q3 FY26 growth at 8.1%, slightly below the previous quarter's 8.2%. With FY23 as the new base year, the revised numbers could alter policy signals and sectoral dynamics. Alright, first up, India crude oil imports from Russia have increased in February, contrary to what many were expecting after the US pressure on India. According to market analyst Kepler, Russian crude imports rose 6% on month in February, but were lower by 22% on year. Imports from Saudi Arabia rose 44%, while the first imports from Venezuela are expected to land on Indian shores in April. So that's the latest coming in on crude, with continued imports from Russia, while Venezuelan crude is going to really kick off a little later, and imports from Saudi Arabia rose 44%. Let me take you through the markets at this hour and quickly pull them up for you. Sharp selling pressure being seen. 25,300 is broken. 25,146 is actually closer to what we're at currently. And the broader markets also feeling the pinch this Friday. We've got Abhishek Basumalik joining us this afternoon. Abhishek, good to have you with us. Take us through what you're seeing really taking place right now. We're seeing sharp hammering coming in across sectors, across the board. All indices currently in the red.
Yeah, I think, and it sort of got, last, I think, 10-15 minutes was a lot, very quick sell-off that happened. But I think primarily there's a lot of global uncertainties. We were reporting, I was just watching before this, the war that is now happening between Afghanistan, Pakistan. Continuously there is something or the other going on. The US-Iran situation remains very, very volatile. So I think there is a sense of a risk-off right now across the world. So that's one part. And I think, last week when I was on your show, I mentioned that we are basically in a range. And whenever we are going up, it's correcting. Whenever we are, coming to the bottom of that range, it's moving up. So the news flows are aiding that, but fundamentally, we are still stuck in that range.
Okay, what are you making of the news around crude at this point, Abhishek, given that we're still importing from Russia? I think Venezuelan imports kick off in April. What kind of impact do you foresee on crude prices in the near future, given the latest that we're hearing in terms of the numbers and source-wise breakup of crude oil?
So very interestingly, we're not seeing any major spike in crude, even though there is so much of problems happening in and around the Middle East. There's been problems now with Russia going on for around 4 years. So I don't see any major change in that with also Venezuelan crude coming into the, coming back into the global system. Probably we don't, expect that crude prices will go further up from here. A couple of dollars here, plus minus, wouldn't make any difference, to the Indian economy per se.
All right, so nothing much to fret about in terms of impact on crude prices. Now let's move on to the bond market as well. Bond market reforms will be taken forward to strengthen long-term financing and improve liquidity, according to the Prime Minister at a post-budget webinar. He stated that the government is working to simplify processes, introduce new instruments, and make the system more predictable for investors. The Prime Minister also called for greater use of technology to enhance transparency and accountability in financial markets. Listen in.
रिफॉर्म्स का मूल्यांकन घोषणा से नहीं बल्कि जमीनी स्तर पर उनके प्रभाव से होना चाहिए। हमें एआई, ब्लॉकचेन और डेटा एनालिटिक्स का व्यापक उपयोग कर ट्रांसपेरेंसी, स्पीड और अकाउंटेबिलिटी बढ़ानी होगी। हम फॉरेन इन्वेस्टमेंट फ्रेमवर्क को और सरल कर रहे हैं। हमारा प्रयास सिस्टम को ज्यादा प्रिडिक्टेबल और इन्वेस्टर फ्रेंडली बनाने का है। हम लॉन्ग टर्म फाइनेंस को बेहतर बनाने के लिए बॉन्ड मार्केट्स को और ज्यादा सक्रिय बनाने की दिशा में भी कदम उठा रहे हैं। बॉन्ड की खरीद और बिक्री की प्रक्रिया को आसान बनाया जा रहा है। साथियों, हमें बॉन्ड मार्केट रिफॉर्म्स को लॉन्ग टर्म ग्रोथ के एनेबल्स के रूप में देखना होगा। हमें प्रिडिक्टेबिलिटी सुनिश्चित करनी होगी, लिक्विडिटी को गहरा करना होगा, नए इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स लाने होंगे और रिस्क का प्रभावी प्रबंधन करना होगा। तभी हम सस्टेन फॉरेन कैपिटल आकर्षित कर पाएंगे। मुझे अपेक्षा है कि आप ग्लोबल बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस से सीख लेकर फॉरेन इन्वेस्टमेंट फ्रेमवर्क और बॉन्ड मार्केट्स को मजबूत करने के लिए स्पष्ट और ठोस सुझाव देंगे।
All right, that's the Prime Minister speaking on the bond market. I just want to touch upon markets now. In equity markets, 25,163 on the index, Nifty banked down over 1%. In fact, Abhishek, that's really where a lot of the pressure has been with the recent slide, with banks seeing a phenomenal sell-off. Now, would you agree that it's to do with some amount of a recent run-up, or I feel there's a part of the market that believes that financials could actually see a far greater run-up as well? Is this interim profit booking that we're looking at, or do you see further selling?
See, I think what's happening is that there is continuous sector rotation that is happening, and this is not something which is happening lately. It's in the last year and a half that has been the structure of the market. Any sector which does well does it for a month, a couple of months, and then profit booking comes in, money moves to some other sector. So investors, traders are very, very skeptical of stocks or of themes wherever they've made a bit of money. So I think it's more of risk aversion rather than people actually taking a long-term view on a sector, especially if it's banking or things like that.
All right, fair enough. Where are you finding value in such a market, Abhishek? Where would you be brave enough to perhaps dip your toes in?
So I think if so just extending from the previous clip that you showed of the Honorable Prime Minister, if you look at what are the second order consequences of a deeper bond market, right? You will see, credit rating agencies likely, getting more business because of more bond issuances. There is going to be some amount of impact to the larger banks because large corporates can actually bypass them for credit and go directly to the bond markets. So there will be opportunities, there will be challenges for different sectors in each area that you look at. So the places that I am looking at is, there is definitely a lot of scope in defense, in infrastructure, capital goods, chemicals, agrochemicals, auto ancillaries, cement. So many areas where definitely, there looks to be opportunity. We have to just, sort of have a thick skin and not care about the day-to-day volatility in the market. Stocks have become reasonably cheaper in the last year and a half. Lot of companies have started, coming out with better results. So in fact, I was just looking at the data. After nearly 5 quarters, we have seen aggregate growth in PAT going above, around 12%. So that's heartening to see. One more quarter of good results, and I think we can actually sort of break out on the upside. So even though markets are frustrating us by being in a range, I think it's just a natural mechanism. Markets had run up earlier, it's come down, it's corrected, it's now in a range, and in a growing economy, ultimately the breakout is going to happen upwards. Whenever that happens, it might happen in a few months, might take a few quarters, it might happen tomorrow for all we know, right? But whenever it happens, I think we will have again a fairly long period of time when the markets will look much better.
All right, so that's really what's happening. That's where all the pressure is, though, this afternoon. We've got the market at the day's low, Nifty 50 below 25,150 for a moment. It's back at 25,180 currently, but still hovering around that mark. We've got broader markets also seeing sharp cuts. Financials are leading the way right now. Minor gains in IT somewhat after the recent thrashing that they've made, but otherwise the market breadth is dismal, and it's really geopolitical factors that are currently playing out. Markets never like any kind of nervousness, uncertainty, and the current war updates, are really not driving any kind of reassuring sentiment. So India VIX is now up 4.3% right now, and that's pretty high as we see it, given the current global economic geopolitical pressures that we're looking at. So very sharp fall currently in closing, and banks being the biggest losers. That's really the summary at this point. I'm just wondering what kind of resistance we should now, or support level we should now look out for. Abhishek, would you have any indications of that?
So I think, the first level obviously is going to be a round number like 25,000 on the Nifty. Then 24,500 is probably going to be another support area. So 25,400, 24,500, 24,400 is another place to look out. But immediately I think 25,000 is the immediate support that we should be looking at.
All right. If we do start to see nervousness building up with regards to geopolitical factors, there are, a lot of different pockets of the market that continue to be overvalued or just running at some extremely high valuations. We've recently seen sharp run up when it comes to defense, for instance, some of the industrials or energy names, and they continue to be on everyone's buy list. But in the event that we continue to see a sell-off, Abhishek, would you take money off the block across the board?
Difficult call to take. I mean, my sense is that, we will not see a very big downside from these levels. Like I said, corporate results have started improving. We've been in a bearish, bear market, sideways market for the last 1.5 years, practically for the, broader market. So I don't see that we will unless there is again some major incident which happens, I don't see that markets correcting a lot from here. We'll probably be in this sort of death by 1,000 cuts kind of a market, where we're not doing much, we're just going up 2 days, down 3 days kind of a thing. In terms of highly valued stocks or themes, most of the stocks or themes that are highly valued, I have actually seen a lot of derating as well. The ones that are still, probably slightly overvalued or richly valued are ones where there is a lot of genuine interest. Like you mentioned, defense. Now, if I look at what is happening around in the world, one of the key reasons that there is a risk off situation is that geopolitically violence has gone up, and that makes a case that defense spending, not only in India but across the world, is going to go up. Europe, especially Western Europe, has nearly every country in Western Europe has made a commitment that they will at least double their spending in terms of defense. So there is globally a huge appetite for defense spending, and there is going to be very definite beneficiaries whenever there is such a very large global tailwind in a sector. So very difficult call to take whether the people should go into cash, etc. But I would say if you have a slightly medium to long term horizon, these would be times where you sort of do your research, identify your stocks, and maybe start nibbling. You have to disregard the ups and downs on the daily basis. If you start nibbling,
Sure.
maybe with a couple of.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. Now, let's just bring you up to speed with what's happening on the semiconductor front. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to be inaugurating the Micron Technology 22,500 crore plant in Sanand tomorrow, a facility set to power the next wave of AI-driven memory and storage demand. The plant will assemble and package advanced products for global markets, marking a major milestone in India's chip manufacturing ambitions. For more on this, we're joined by India Today's Brijesh Doshi. Brijesh, take us through what's on the anvil.
This will be the first semiconductor plant will be inaugurated in the Gujarat. Micron, the American company Micron, has invested almost which they are claiming that there will be more than 20,000 jobs will be created directly or indirectly due to the semiconductor assemble plant. This is the assembly plant of the semiconductor unit, and this will be the first plant which is going to be operated from tomorrow onwards. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will reach to the Gujarat on the around 3:30 p.m. At Ahmedabad airport, and then he will reach to the Sanand, the plant. He will review the plant. He will gather all kind of the information that how the chips will be assembled here and how it will be distributed, how the company will work here. So these all kind of information will be said to the Prime Minister tomorrow onwards. There will be a 3.5 kilometer long road show tomorrow before this inaugural ceremony in Sanand GIDC of the plant. So PM will be welcomed by the local people of the Sanand. You know that how PM greeted always in and had a great welcome in his home state Gujarat. So almost there will be a huge road show, and after that the plant will be inaugurated, which will boost up the semiconductor industry in the Gujarat as well. There are certain investments that Gujarat government is seeking after these plants. Once this plant will be operational, fully operational from tomorrow onwards, and then there will be a biggest plant of Tata in Dholera, where we will see the production of the semiconductor chips. This is the assemble plant of Micron, and then there will be a biggest plant of India in Dholera of Tata that will produce the semiconductor chips. So this will give the boost to the economy of India as well, and the state of Gujarat both.
All right, thank you for that, Brijesh. We've got key senior members of Micron's team, of course, there on ground, as well as President CEO Sanjay Mehrotra. We also got Dixon up about 4% this afternoon on the back of such developments. Let's take a look at that as well. And there are such other bright spots in the market as well. So Dixon is up about 4% right now. We've got like a Tejas Networks that's up 17-18%. Reddington is up 15%. Let's take a look at where else perhaps some of the actions coming from. Just a few spots in the broader markets. I think that's pretty much it in terms of volume buzzers. And on the downside, of course, it's the banks, Tata Steel, HDFC, Bandhan. We've got Steel Authority, L&T Finance is down about 5%. Reliance Power is down 4-5% as well. Very heavy volumes on some of these as well. Vishal Megamart is down about 8% this afternoon. So quite a bit of a cut coming in there on a Vishal Megamart. I'm just looking at some of the other losers for you as well across broader markets. And some of the stock market counters, Angel One, for instance, down 5%. CET is seeing a sharp cut. IRCTC is down 5% as well. India Cements, Force Motors, Jindal Stainless, very, very sharp cuts coming in. Canfin is down 4%. Piramal Pharma, 4%. Godrej Properties, real estate as a pack is seeing 3-4% cuts across the board. Godrej Industries is down 4%. Manappuram Finance, 3-4% there on a Manappuram as well. So you're just seeing pretty much cuts across the board, but I'm showing you these stocks so you can see the kind of depth of cuts as well that are coming in across financials, real estate. Some of these pockets particularly are seeing heavy selling coming in, and then across the board pretty much we're continuing to see that kind of a sell up. FMCG names as well, seeing a lot of cuts as well. On their gainers list, and like I said, it's a bear market, so not too much point running through any of those names, but a little bit of respite on IT. And a few select names like a Godrej Agrovet or a NetWeb, CPCL, which is an oil exploration counter. AFL is moving today. So again, mostly to do with tech. Some amount of a marginal uptick in Alila. Just to highlight that, as Siemens, Praj, a couple of these names are moving. So some of your industrials, for instance, are seeing a little bit of an uptick there. L&T Tech is also up. So that's clearly the theme, but it's literally like the only theme that's seeing any kind of respite in the market today. All right, so Abhishek, what do we watch out for next? Things are unclear. The VIX is up 4% in trade today. Global markets, we'll wait for some indication, but going by what we're seeing right now, this is clearly a reaction to what's happening across Pakistan and Afghanistan.
So, thankfully, we're getting into a weekend. So let's see how things pan out over the next 2 days, and Monday, starting of a new week, hopefully things will be better. In terms of all the geopolitical situation. So we just have to cross our fingers and wait for it.
I wonder what's happening to gold as well. Perhaps let's pull that up, because usually we do see some amount of safe haven buying on the back of such instances as well. Let's just pull up the precious metals and take a look at how they're doing right now. But keep an eye as well on what perhaps we might see play out on that front. Abhishek, if we sort of zoom out for a moment and look at the bigger picture and don't focus on today's sell-off, what would be your preferred picks in the market?
Yeah, like I said, there is actually a lot of opportunity in the sectors that I just mentioned. A lot of work happening on the ground in terms of infrastructure, capital goods, engineering, like you just, the new plant for Micron, right? So there is a lot of things which are happening in the EMS space. So there are pockets, valuations have tempered off a bit in the last year and a half. So things are looking better. What we really need is sustenance of good corporate results. I think that's been one of the areas where we've seen problems in the past, the last at least year and a half. Now, for the first, like I said, after nearly 4-5 quarters, results have started getting better. One more quarter and things should get more bullish.
All right, that does seem to be the general consensus coming through, that perhaps another quarter is what we need to watch out for. Our results this time also have been encouraging, but just to ensure that they're steady on track and we start to see a further consolidated pickup. All right, let's also get you a conversation with Mercedes-Benz. Cafe 3 norms are back in focus, and Merck India is backing tighter fuel efficiency standards, even if they result in higher vehicle prices. Speaking to Business Today, MD and CEO Santosh Iyer said the company is aligned with SIAM and stressed that public health must take precedence in policy decisions. He also revealed that Mercedes' upcoming entry-level luxury EV, the CLA, powered by NVIDIA chips, would deliver computing power equivalent to 4 supercomputers, signaling a sharp shift towards software-defined vehicles.
There's been a lot of deliberations and talks going about on the Cafe 3 norms that are scheduled to go on float from 2027. There's also opinion about in the various circles of the government that tailpipe emission should not be considered as a as a zero or given all benefits. What's your opinion about Cafe 3 norms? Do we see some benefits getting passed on to small cars versus a higher car? What's your take?
See, firstly, we are fully aligned with what the CM view is. As common as industry, we all came to a common minimum agenda on what should be the kind of prognosis. I think industry has its own set of challenges. One of the biggest fear is not technology. I think even Indian OEMs are really capable to make cars capable to any of the emission norms, but it adds cost. We need to remember that for us, we are anyway not only CAFE but even BS7 compliant and so on and so forth. We are ahead of the curve from the European standard. But when you look at India as a car market, the technology as a cost, is the customer ready to pay the cost? You have already seen the price sensitivity. What happened after GST? Why did the car market explode? Because the prices came down. So the demand is there, but the price is a very big factor. So we have to be conscious about technology adoption and the right balance when it comes to adding the cost to the car and to the consumer. I think the policymakers are aware. At the same time, public health is super critical. You cannot, there is no cost to a public health crisis, right? So, and we see in Delhi, in Pune now, the air quality topic. So, with the balanced approach is what we need to do. We are fully committed as early implementation, and we are fully aligned with that CMU. Whether a certain segment of cars should be given a certain, I think we are not participating in that segment, so we don't have that view. But I think policymakers and CM are closely discussing the way forward. And as I said, this is a balance between cost on one side, technology on the other side, and demand impact because of that as well.
All right, that's where we leave it on the show today. Not a great ending on a Friday evening, but hopefully the weekend will give markets time to rest, rewind, and back to business on Monday. Thanks so much for watching.
Presented by National Stock Exchange.
Look, this investment Guru's tips will double your money. Just claim the offer.
Double your money from any random group. Pay attention. Promising double returns, they'll lure you in tight. Unverified groups will send fake tips overnight, emptying your pockets before you can fight.
Well said, well said, well said.
SEBI and NSE advise consult only SEBI registered advisors and make payments only to verified accounts or UPI IDs. An investor awareness initiative by SEBI and NSE.
Presented by National Stock Exchange.
Golfers, how's everybody doing? It's a wonderful morning. I'm Sakshi Batra, and it's an absolute delight to welcome all of you to India's most prestigious